Alrighty, we are live. First time on YouTube. So let's see how we go with today. So basically today, you know if you follow me on YouTube that we're all about natural born running, how to run, relearning how to run, what you need to do, what are the best things to get over injuries, etc., etc., etc. So today it's gonna be all about recurring injuries. Now, a lot of people do suffer from these recurrent injuries, especially like someone myself. I had many recurrent injuries, especially 3 knee recos, 3 ACL tears within 4 years. So I know everything there is to do about recurrent injuries. And like even how many years now? 12 years after retiring from rugby, I'm still getting these small recurrent injuries that just love to come back. And so we're going to dive deep into the challenges and triumphs of athletes across all sports. So I'm Mick. I'm the owner of Natural Born Running. I'm here trying to just get the word out there to help people relearn how to run, reconnect to their body, and optimize their performance to the highest levels. And so we're going to tackle an issue that affects so many athletes today, no matter the sport, and that is the recurring injuries. And most, you know that feeling. You think you're back to 100%, you're ready to perform, and then suddenly, boom, another injury hits. It's a cycle that seems impossible to break for many athletes out there. So today we're going to talk about what's causing these recurring injuries, why they're happening, why they shouldn't be happening, why they happen so frequently, and most importantly, how to finally break free from this awful, awful cycle. But let's start by breaking down what we mean by recurrent injuries. And essentially, this is when an athlete suffers the same or a similar injury repeatedly, again and again. It could be a hamstring strain that comes back every season, or an ankle sprain that just never seems to fully recover. Recurrent injuries don't only hinder your physical performance, but they also take a mental toll. And that's the biggest part of injury recovery, is that mental side, is that emotional side. You really start to lose confidence in your body. You've lost that safety within your body. And that fear of re-injury can really impact how you perform, how you play, how you just are going to continue on. Every single training session just seems a struggle because you haven't got this in line. You haven't got it back to where you want. You haven't got the safety. You haven't got the confidence. And the tricky part is that once you've had an injury, especially a significant one like an ACL tear or shoulder dislocation, that area is so much more vulnerable to re-injury. Whether it's due to incomplete recovery, improper rehab, or even mental hesitation, the big one. That recurring pain or injury is a signal that something still isn't right. And the thing is, your body will always remember these injuries. It will remember the pain that you've been through. I remember one time after my first ACL reco, probably a few months after the surgery, I'm walking along in the mall and I had to quickly sidestep around someone, and my knee felt like it just torn the ACL again. Because the brain just remembers that movement. It was a similar movement to how I did it, a sidestep, and it gave me that pain, that experience that I had throughout the injury, and it made me think, fuck, did I just tear it again? I didn't. The brain holds on, the body holds on to a lot of old traumatic stuff. So you may think you're going crazy sometimes, but it is all very normal within our bodies. So why do these recurring injuries happen? I know a lot of athletes feel frustrated because they do their rehab, they rest, and yet they keep getting injured in the same spot, whether it's that niggly little calf or just that hammy just goes again and again, or you just can't get rid of that rotator cuff pain. What's going wrong? And there really are a few key reasons. First one, man, is incomplete recovery. You don't give yourself enough time, patience to get back to your sport. We often rush back into training or competition before you're fully healed. You might feel better, especially up in the mental side, which is great, but your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments, your soft tissue, your fascia may not have fully regained their strength and flexibility, mobility. And this makes you more vulnerable to re-injury. I certainly did it with my first ACL, hamstring graft. I came back a little bit too early, strained the hammy. It's just part and parcel of the process, unfortunately. So you've really got to listen to the body, understand it, but also, like I said before, reconnect to that body just to make you feel safe. One of the other bigger factors is compensation. So let's say you've injured your ankle, you've rolled your ankle. Even when it's healed, even when it feels great, your body may have adjusted its movement over time to protect that area. It's like when you limp. We try our hardest not to limp because if you're consistently limping, you're going to affect something up the chain, the knee, the hip, the lower back, etc., etc. Think about this, like if you see a dog hurts its leg, cries for a bit, whines for a bit, but within 30, 40 seconds, he's back to normal because he's using it. He knows it's okay. It's the same thing that we can do as humans. We don't need to ice it. We don't need to wrap it up. We don't need to get crutches. A simple ankle roll can be a lot easier than you think. We wrap it up in cotton wools way too quickly. But the things after an injury like that, especially a rolled ankle, depending on how bad it is, like whether you want to run, jump, or even just simply walk, this compensation that the body's now doing is putting extra strain on other parts of your body, leading to potentially new or that recurrent injury. So when we go through some kind of trauma of injury, the body reacts and it has to adapt. It doesn't want this to happen again. It wants to keep going. And unfortunately, sometimes it compensates in different areas because the body is a beautiful machine to be able to adapt to its environment. But unfortunately, it can be detrimental sometimes. And then we've got training mistakes. But a lot of athletes jump right back into their old training routine. That routine got you injured. You keep going back to it because that's what you're taught, that's what you've known, and it's what people are telling you what to do. It's your physios are telling you what to do. It's your coaches, but that's what got you injured in the first place. Doesn't make a lot of sense if you keep going back to the same thing and again and again and again. Something needs to change. Something is missing. And so if you don't correct these poor movement patterns, which is normally where it comes from, that caused the injury in the first place, it's just a matter of time before the injury recurs. And especially with any kind of soft tissue injury, your hamstring tear, your calf strain, lower back strain, etc., any soft tissue muscle injury, that is all coming from a displacement of tension. If the bigger, stronger structural muscles, your pecs, your lats, your glutes, your psoas, hamstring, inner hamstrings, if they're not working efficiently, that tension is going to be displaced somewhere else. There's a big reason why when people tear their hamstrings, it is the rectus femoris, the one on the outside, because your inside hamstring is probably not as strong as it should be, not as connected. So we've got to make sure that you are fully connected with your body, learning how to use it properly, and go back to that natural gift you were given as a human. But unfortunately, we've got all this displacement of tension because of the way we live. It's our habitual lifestyles. It's the sedentary lifestyles. It's the shoes we wear, the poor fitting shoes. We drive around all day, or we're stuck on a phone all day, or on the desk all day. Those habits over time are going to displace all the best tension, all the good tension to what we need to move efficiently. So a lot of athletes, especially those at a competitive level, they feel the pressure to return to the sport as quick as possible. Of course, if you've got a contract on the line, or you've got a big game coming up, etc., like they don't want to lose that spot on the team. Someone else is taking their spot. They've got to get back as quick as they can, or they think they can just push through the pain. I mean, push through pain is it's not ideal at all. Pain is simply a request for change. It's all it wants. It's just the brain telling you something's not happy, something's not right, something needs to change. And if you don't change that, like we said before, you're just going to keep getting injured. And pushing through that pain is just why you're going to keep getting these recurrent injuries. But as we're learning from this, that mindset often leads to these vicious cycles. So you've even got that mindset good, healthy, strong, creating that safety within the body, creating confidence back in the body. You're never going to perform to the levels you want. It's that mental aspect. It's the hardest part of any injury because of that loss of confidence, because of that loss of safety within your own body. I know now, like even, how many years after my first ACL? 22, so 16 years ago, I'm still hesitant with the knee. It just gets stuck here. I got a lot more confidence around it, but there's still things that give me hesitancy. So you kind of start to move a little bit differently. And so that in itself can lead to other issues. So when your mind isn't confident in your body, you're not moving to that full capacity. So how can we kind of finally break free of this cycle of recurring injuries? What are the steps that you need to take? And it really all starts with simply proper recovery, knowing what to do. And when I say recovery, I mean full recovery. That means giving your body enough time to heal, even if you think you're feeling better. Working with a therapist, my therapist, or a trainer who specializes in these type of injuries is critical. You need help. You can't get through an injury on your own. I've tried it. It doesn't work. They will help ensure that you're fully healed before returning to training. There's certain protocols. If you can't contract this muscle, if you can't connect these muscles together, if you can't run this distance, etc., etc. The second step is correcting these movement patterns. And this one's huge. You have to address what caused the injury in the first place. Whether it was poor form in your running, overuse, or simple imbalance in your muscles, which everybody's walking around in. And this often means going back to basics and relearning how to move properly, how to connect properly, how to optimize your performance properly. Of course, it might feel frustrating that you feel like you're taking a step back, but it's so essential for your long-term health, your long-term performance, and your longevity within your sport. And there's nothing wrong with taking that step back because you got injured for a reason. Again, you keep going on those same movement patterns, it's going to happen again and again and again. So take a little bit of time, step back, and it's going to put you forward and just give you that longevity that you just crave as an athlete. I'd do anything to keep playing today. I haven't played rugby in 12 years. Eats away at me every single day. If I knew back then what I know now, changing my movement patterns, learning how to run properly, because yes, I was fast. I could sprint faster than most people in the field, but I used to knock my knees together. I had no glutes. I had no stability. So it was a recipe for a disaster just waiting to happen. It's a ticking time bomb. And so the third part of getting over this is that gradual return to play. A lot of athletes go straight from rehab into full training, and it's a mistake. Your body needs time to readapt to that intensity of training. So you start slowly, gradually increase your workload, use the tools just to help you build back into it. Of course, you want to go 100% straight away, but that's just not possible. And again, I'll always keep coming back to you need to reconnect, relearn how to optimize your body, your tissues, your fascia, your muscles. Once you learn that, your performance is endless. It's fucking awesome. And then lastly, don't underestimate the importance of that mental recovery. You can't do it alone. Whether you do need to support to a sports psychologist or some type of mental coach, or even just your teammates, or even just your simple coach, it can really help you regain that confidence in your body. When you start talking to others, you may find out, oh, they had that injury too, a long time ago, or they know someone who's had that injury. I know when I first tore my ACL, I'd never even heard of an ACL before I tore it. You start talking to more people, especially when I was talking to clients at the gym, say, oh yeah, I tore that. Lost my career because of that. It's like, wow, it's a lot more. It's just out there more than you think. So when you can start having conversations, be vulnerable with it, talk about it, think of different strategies, how they got over it. You can bring it all together and give you the best opportunity to get out of this as quick as possible and start moving on freely without that fear. Because it's that fear that's going to hold you back. It's going to not allow you to create that safety, which you are just craving. And I can't emphasize the mental side of recovery enough. It's something a lot of athletes overlook, but it's just as or even more important than the physical work. You look at the best athletes in the world, they do all the mental training more than anything. They're the ones who win the last point. They're the one who kicks the goal in the last second. They're the one who saves the penalty, etc. And we look at that, let's bring in a couple of real life examples. Like, I know many elite athletes have struggled with recurrent injuries and they still find ways to come back stronger. Like, for example, Steph Curry, the basketball player, early in his career dealt with recurrent ankle injuries. He didn't just keep playing through the pain. He took the time to strengthen his ankle, improve his balance, relearning how to move efficiently. And look at him now. He's one of the best basketball players in the world, in history, and has been relatively injury-free in the recent years. And another example is Serena Williams, one of the greatest tennis players of all time. She had recurring knee and back injuries throughout her career, but she always focused on her recovery. She made adjustments in the training, stayed consistent with injury prevention. She knew her body and she listened to it. So even the best athletes in the world deal with this. It's the ones who can overcome it with their mind that sets them apart from everybody else. It's about being smart, not just tough. So practical takeaways from this for these recurrent injuries. What can we start doing? What can you start doing? First up, be patient. It sucks, but you got to. Don't rush back into training before you're ready. Secondly, work with professionals who can guide your recovery. Talk to your friends, talk to your coaches, talk to your mates. Whether it's a physical therapist, a trainer, or a coach who understands your injury, anyone, just talk. And the biggest thing is just focus on your basics of movement, the fundamentals of movement, form, mobility, but connection. Can you create proper tension in, like, say, the bigger structural muscles, your pecs, your lats, your psoas, your transverse abdominis, your glute max, your inner hamstrings? You've got to reconnect to them. So all that tension is going through the right tunnel. Trust your body. And the only way to get that trust back is creating safety by creating those connections to build up your confidence to go out and perform. So I hope you found this discussion on recurrent injuries helpful. Remember, it's not about pushing through the pain or getting back on the field as fast as possible. It's about long-term health and longevity and making sure you can perform at your best, pain-free, injury-free. So thanks very much for tuning in. And if you are struggling with recurrent injuries and want to learn more about breaking that cycle, check out the resources linked below in the show notes. And be sure to subscribe and follow us on social media for more tips on how to stay at the top of your game. So until next time, stay healthy and keep pushing forward.